What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Awake and Sober Podcast, a podcast about life and recovery through Christ.
The T.
There it is.
Emphasis.
I guess Jeremy's back.
Jeremy's back.
I'm back.
About time.
I'm back.
You know who's here, how Christ gets said.
Yeah, that's yeah. You do.
Jesus.
Yeah.
He loves some Jesus.
Jesus loves the little
So we have a fun show today.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Jury's out.
I know after the podcast we'll have some fun. Beating them up a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
But, so, what are we doing today?
We're doing the Brent re-interview. One interview, one year
Continuation?
Take two.
Continuation, yeah.
I don't know about take
Sequel.
two. Take one was
The
good.
sequel.
It's a sequel.
The
Yeah.
sequel.
Yeah.
We'll label it Brent the sequel.
Yeah, I like that.
That's nice.
That will be the label for it.
Yeah. We have a sponsor, don't we?
I think so.
Yeah, sure do.
Yeah.
Still the same guys. Tactile Turn.
Tactile Turn. What do they do? What do they make?
The finest pens on the market. And they also don't only make pens, they also make knives. They
And now-
make
Flashlights.
flashlights. I can't wait to get
Those
my
are-
hands on one of those. I really can't.
Those are a little steep. Steep.
Conley was looking.
But you know what?
Conley was looking those up there. He's like, I think I want one of those flashlights. And I looked at the price. I was like, you're not getting one of those.
Look, it's bad enough that you have a $100 pen,
Right.
but a $350 flashlight. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know
Graduate
if
high school first, buddy. You'll be all right.
I was like, unless the boss man over there sends us one that falls off the truck, you ain't getting one anytime soon, buddy. So,
It has happened before. You never know.
You know, that would be nice if.
Yeah, it would.
Don't send us a care package of pens. Send us a care package of flashlights.
maybe a knife. I mean, if a knife falls off too,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know.
no problem there.
Yeah.
I do love their knives.
I like all their products. Their products are amazing. But we also want to say, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We are on all podcast platforms.
Yes, we are.
Send us a message. Send us a text. Reach out. We want to hear from you.
Let us know what you want us to talk about.
That's also a very good thing. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it would be nice to know.
Yeah. What do you want us to sit here and chew the fat on for a while? So, Mike, how are you?
My soul is.
My soul.
My soul is. I want to say.
Must not be well.
No, I know.
No,
He's thinking a lot about
it is
that.
so well. I don't know how to describe it. My soul is. I don't want to say validated, but I feel like
That's a word.
it is a word. Yeah, I feel like the direction I am going is the best direction I've been going in months. Things are falling into place. My relationship with Jesus Christ has never been better. Relationships are getting better. With what we saw at CR last night, it was, seeing a couple guys that we've helped with before and seeing them continue to do the things that keep them sober was such a good feeling. And it really, that's where the validation comes. Like, you did a good thing, right? And you didn't do it for yourself, but you did it for them. And then now they're spreading their wings and really taking care of business. And, man, it was awesome. I gave the couple guys a couple of really big hugs, and it was fantastic.
It's nice being able to see the fruits of your labor.
Oh, dude, totally.
I love it when a plan comes through.
Yeah, dropping them seeds, right?
Wasn't a plan comes together?
Yeah, what is that from? I love it.
A-Team.
The A-Team. Yeah, I love it when a plan comes together. Yeah.
That's way too old for
Yeah,
me.
I was about to say.
They redid the movie.
Mr. T, dude. Yeah, they redid it.
Put in the food.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Brent.
Yeah,
I mean, Brent's only 13. What do you expect?
this is true.
been in recovery quite a long time. But no, mine as well. Pastor Shane, how you doing, brother?
Beautiful. Man, I could tell you, it Celebrate Recovery was needed. Like to start one again, to start building it. But I could tell you one thing that I got to watch is my expectations. Brent even had to say something last night. I have high expectations of what it should look like.
No.
How many people should be there?
Control.
Just a little. But really, the people that needed to be there were there. And the team is coming together well, coming together nicely. So it puts everything in we're serving people the way that they need to be served, I think. And it was needed because it really helped me so I could get back and really focus in recovery. Because I love Celebrate Recovery. I love the different elements of it. Now I could go somewhere and just go to an AA meeting, an NA meeting, in, out, fix, done, and it's quick over. But there's something about a 3-hour tour that is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or 3.5-hour tour. I guess for me, I get up there about 4 o'clock, so leave about 9:30.
About 5.5. Let's do the math here.
It's a fun time, but I think that has really helped my soul go in the direction that it needed to go in. So I am well. Big Perm.
Yes, sir.
How are you? How is it with your soul, my brother?
How it is.
I'm not going to take as long to answer as Mike did over there.
I was trying to come up with something.
No, I've been, it's been good. I've been focusing on things that are important in my life lately. And it's nice to kind of get back to, I'd say get back to it, but it's kind of like I'm working on being good at it, if that makes any sense. So yeah, things are good. Speak of the devil. We got that hailstorm last week. That was pretty brutal here in
Yeah, it was.
O-Town. Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
For all the people out there, it was rough.
Bad.
Yeah.
And so, we had the insurance adjuster and everything out there today, and everything is. I'm getting a new barbecue pit out of it. I didn't realize that my barbecue pit was messed up, so I'm getting a new Weber. I'm pretty excited about that.
Awesome.
So what are you doing with the old one?
Well, that's just there's one dent on it, and then he's like, "Oh, we'll take care of that." I was like,
Okay.
"It's literally like it looks like it looks like you'd look like a little ball ping hammer just hit it."
Folks, that's why our insurance rates are
Uh-huh.
Weber grills.
Yeah. You can all thank Jeremy for that.
And of course, it's not it's the most expensive Weber
Well, yeah.
grill you can buy. So yeah, so
Can I have the other one?
That's why I was asking.
I don't want to get rid of it. So I was like, maybe I'll get a gas grill because I know I see.
Yeah.
I'm all about. That's
on.
all that's all I do is cook on charcoal or my
Be
flat
better.
top.
Be better.
But it's like it would be so nice just to whoop.
You can just get you a blowtorch, and it lights.
Bang.
Anyway,
Right there.
Brent, how are you?
See, I'm
The man of the
solution
hour.
driven.
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. And it feels weird to say that sometimes and honestly mean it and also not feel weird saying it, I think. Or maybe guilty saying it, I guess. Be a way to put it.
Guilty? Why?
I would say before, just because before I got sober, I mean, there were times that I felt really good, but I also knew that my life, what I was doing, wasn't good. So I felt guilty about being good in my life, in my crappy life.
You shared your story last night, which was a lot of fun. Now you get to share it again today. So we had you on, what did we say, July?
July.
Yeah.
July, you're 90 days sober. And now you're
A little over a year. A year and
a few days?
4 days, maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, matter of fact, you didn't even get to celebrate your 1 year the way most people get to celebrate their 1 year.
This is pretty awesome.
1 year later, it was a year and a day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
Do what?
Leap year.
Leap year.
Oh,
So he had to put in an extra day before it fell on a day. So I texted him and I said, "Hey, happy 365," because I mean that was a year. It was 365 days, but technically it didn't fall on the same day until.
Yeah, I thought I was going crazy because my app said 365 on a Thursday, and I look back at my flight logs and everything. I'm like, I know my sober day is this day, so why is it saying it's not?
So it was pretty fun.
That is pretty
good.
cool. And you can
good
always
story.
say, I went the extra mile for that 1 year.
Yeah.
You did a little bit more than needed.
Yeah. So he celebrated 365 then 1 year.
that's awesome.
Yeah, we definitely did that. So wanted to bring you back on, and we'll go through some of your story, but we won't spend a whole lot of time there. We'll talk about more what's happened since.
Yeah.
But really, to bring you on 90 days in 1 year, there's a huge difference in how you got to that 1 year. So we'll go through it, but give us a little. Who is Brent? Give us, and not the long version, but just a synopsis. Where were you born, raised?
Cliff notes.
What kind of upbringing did you have?
Yeah, Cliff notes.
Yeah. Born in St. Charles, Missouri. Had a really good upbringing. 3 older sisters. I'm the youngest, only boy. 2 parents with a great marriage. Really took that. I think I didn't really realize how great their marriage was until I got older and started having relationships of my own. And I see my sisters like marriages now, and I can definitely see that they benefited from having a great marriage to kind of work off of. Yeah, played sports a lot growing up. Ended up going to college to play baseball. Gave up on that after I got hurt. And then just did college. Went to law school. And then finished up law school during COVID. And then now just an attorney working in Clayton. That's the Cliff Notes version.
Cliff Notes.
So that gives us a little
Just an
something about
attorney.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just an attorney. Graduated law school during COVID.
No,
it's
no
not a
big deal.
above
No
it.
big deal.
Yeah.
But did you? So when you were growing up, did you have any religious or spiritual upbringing or affiliation?
Yeah, I grew up Methodist. Was considered myself Methodist.
United Methodist.
United Methodist, probably up until maybe 2 years ago, and then started going to a non-denominational. But yeah, always gone to church.
Yeah.
Growing up, I used to really dislike going to it. I think kind of right around the time probably I got to be like a teenager, in between where you go into the kids' church and then you have to sit in and actually listen to the real church. Because that just
The real church. I love that.
just went over my head. It was things were being said that I couldn't apply to my life at that time. I probably could have, but I just didn't really know how.
You just didn't listen.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously smart enough. I just graduated law school. Obviously smart enough. You just didn't want to apply them at the time. You didn't really want to hear it.
No. Didn't want to hear that.
Because
I was
most of the
doing things
pastors
wrong.
there did a good job breaking it down.
Yeah, most of them would.
Yeah.
I would say. And it's also, yeah, I mean, I would just try to find something to pass the time during service. And I think I probably did that up until, I don't know, 5 years ago probably. I would just try to find something to make the service go by. I just wanted to check the box that I went to church.
No, lots of people that still do that,
I do. Yeah.
unfortunately. So when did the drinking come in for you?
First drink was 12 or 13. So 7th grade. It's just a whole bunch of buddies. Halloween. Got some beer. Drank. And it was really never a problem. I wouldn't think it was. And that's why I struggled so much is at the beginning definitely was because I had always been able to pick it up and put it down. No matter how much I was drinking or using during college, I could always just walk away from it and be fine. And then eventually it came to a point where, I mean, it was, I don't know the exact moment I realized that I couldn't walk away from it, but at some point in time I realized that it was such a daily thing that I had to do that I couldn't even imagine not doing it. And not even think about stopping for a long time.
Were you still in college then when you realized that, or were you out?
No, I was out. And that's because I probably had a drinking problem in college, but everybody did who I was around, or at least was drinking like
That's why
it.
you go to college, isn't it?
I did, yeah.
At least was drinking like it. And I could always look back and say, hey, I mean, I'm not the one blacking out, or I'm not the one doing this. I'm always the one at the end of the night who has the most wits about him. And then I think sometime after undergrad, the summer in between undergrad and law school, I stopped drinking for like 3 months because I wanted to get in really good shape and get healthy. And I didn't miss it at all. And so then my mind always automatically went back to that time whenever I started having a problem with it. Was I stopped before, and so either I'll be able to stop again or I don't need to stop because these people are telling me they're alcoholics and they can't stop, and I already know I stopped one time. So like I don't really need to stop because I know I can.
I'll stop later.
Yeah.
So what happened? So when you did cross, or you said you don't remember like a specific time, right? But what happened to your life when you did realize that, oh yeah, this is a part of my routine now, I can't just walk away?
I would say whenever I realized or started to tell myself that nothing else was going to work for me, that drinking was the solution to my problems, and I don't see another way of being able to fix these problems that I'm having right now inside of myself. It became obvious that drinking wasn't going to fix the problems that drinking was causing. That was evident. It was just making things worse. But at that time when I realized this is all I have, almost type of mentality, I think that's whenever I think I crossed the line.
What was it? Just briefly kind of go into, because I know you've already done this, but some people might just be checking in for the first time. What led up to that first 90 days? Like what led up to I have a problem and I need some help? Because you tried to get sober before, correct?
Yeah, definitely. So I first started trying to get sober. I don't even, trying is just a poor word to use because I don't really think I was trying.
Mm-hmm.
I had the thought of taking my own life and made a plan and ended up going to my parents and asking for help. Ended up spending a few days in the psych ward pretty much. And then I got out and I had made everybody else believe, because this was still during COVID time, so I wasn't seeing my family that much. And so they didn't know I was drinking as much as I was at that time. But after I left there, they kind of had a closer eye on me. And that's when they realized, because I started drinking immediately once I got out of there. I knew it was because I was drinking so much why I wanted to do that, but nobody else did. And that's whenever I started doing outpatient via Zoom. And I heard it, but all I thought was, all right, I'll just take what I can learn from here and it'll help me stop eventually. And then I can go back to it. And it just was on and on. I went to rehab 2 years ago in March, same time. And I really, really tried in rehab, but I think I was trying for the wrong reasons. I was trying to impress the people around me, I think, into believing that I had it all together and, oh, he's some recovery guru type of deal. And I just kept drinking once I left there. And then after that, it was just a year of 30 days, 40 days, just repeat the cycle, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And at that point in time, I was just so done with my life. I was just really beginning to, I think I just really looked in the mirror and hated myself. And that's because I hated the life I was living, and I could just point to one thing, and it was my drinking was why I hated my life so much. It was causing all these problems in my life and causing all these problems within inside of me. And I just was done with that finally. And I had so many people telling me how to do it and what to do and give me the best advice. And I would hear them and I just would not apply it. I just would refuse to apply the one thing that they would tell me to do, and that's not drink. I would do anything else in the world that someone was telling me to do, specifically Shane and Christina, but not drink. And I think it just somehow clicked in my mind of maybe I should do that one thing. And I won't have to work as hard as I'm working at all these other things.
Yeah, you were the hardest working non-sober person I know at recovery. Everything you told this guy to do, he would do. Everything. I mean, he would journal. He would do anything that you told him to do, he would do. And he would do it well.
I ain't putting that bottle down, though.
But he would not put that dang bottle. As a matter of fact, he'd have them hidden everywhere.
Been there.
But he worked his tail off. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'd never seen anybody work as hard at recovery as Brent did and not be sober. Never once.
It's a wild thought.
I mean, everything. It was incredible. He was always at meetings. He was always journaling. He was always doing something for recovery except for doing it while drinking. Never met anybody in my life that could do that but you.
Yeah, and I think at some point I mean, what really tripped me up a lot, and it sounds so weird saying it, is I would have a lot of shame in that just because I was doing all of these things, yet I'm still the guy who, I wouldn't do it, but I was still the guy who should have been raising his hand. Is this your first meeting since your last drink? And it's like, I come to this meeting every week and I should be raising my hand every single week. And it was just a lot of shame and guilt, I think. A lot of shame more.
So we tell people, or I tell people, I'm not the chip police, right? And so when somebody comes in, they want to celebrate and we know they've used, well, that's between you and God. Eventually that's gonna weigh on you enough. That guilt, that shame, and hopefully you'll come clean. And it finally did. So what made you decide, what brought you to the point of I'm going to put down this bottle finally?
I think I really just came to the realization of probably two things. It hadn't worked for a while, and that was the biggest. I was like, this is no longer working for me. And two, I can't keep doing this forever. And eventually that time, I think, was getting shorter and shorter each time of how much time I had in my life, I would say. Because, I mean, I knew I was going to drink myself into wanting to take my own life. The more and more I did it, the quicker that would come. Because I'm not going to jail and institution, I guess, psych ward. But
it's funny, the people that have been there still call it psych ward. People that have not called it the behavioral health unit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I never been there. I call it the psych ward or the loony bin.
The loony bin, yeah.
I call it whatever because I've been there. So I can say whatever too.
Yeah, just psych ward. I don't know.
I know a lot of people have been in it.
You got a pretty wall. It's psych ward gray.
There's some pads on it. You could run into it.
So those thoughts are what made you decide. So when did you decide? Where did you go to get help finally?
Cottonwood, which was in Tucson, Arizona. I think it was like a Sunday night. I had drank a lot during that day. My parents were gone all day, and I drank during that day. They came back, and I think I finally I told them that I was struggling a lot more than they knew. And we called Shane and Christina up, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll go to, because I had already gone to rehab here in Missouri, and I was like, all right, I'll go to the aviary. It's like, yeah, I know people there, like it'll be good. I'll work with Jeremy or something like that. I know him, like I'm familiar with him. And so I was kind of set on that, and then the next day, Shane and Christina called me, and they're like, you're going to go away somewhere out of state. I was like, and then they told me the reasons why. If you go where you're familiar with, you're just going to keep doing the same things. And so, I mean, I think I was a little fearful of going away, but at the same time, I wasn't that concerned, just because when I was at rehab the time before, it's not like people were visiting me in the first place. So being 45 minutes away compared to 5-hour plane ride away didn't really affect me when it came down to it, because I can just call people. I can FaceTime them. Nobody's going to come and see me face to face. So, yeah, it was a good change. I know they say geographical changes don't work, but in this case, that little getting out, enjoying the Arizona sun.
It's more about being uncomfortable.
It's a dry heat.
Oh yeah.
He's just over there thinking about the heat.
I know. It's like, man, I would
That's
like
our
to go
bear.
visit that place, but no.
Yeah, 120 is still 120.
He ain't wrong.
I don't care if it's dry or wet. It's 120. It's hot.
It wasn't that bad because it was in March. But, I mean, it was still warm. I mean, they had a pool there, and people were in the pool during March.
They had a pool.
Yeah, they had a pool.
We had a lake.
Yeah, that you can look at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in February.
The neat thing about that place too is you get multiple therapists, and you can see them multiple times a week.
Right.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was able to see somebody basically every single day. There was probably about 70 different people there, but it was an addiction and mental health facility. So some people were just there for mental health. And so there was a wide variety of classes that you got assigned to. It wasn't everybody's in this large group and there's 70 people in this. Right. It was, my class size was probably on average 15 people, because you would go to there was probably 4 different classes going on every single hour. And so that was a good experience because you got that small group feeling.
Personalized care.
Yeah. I mean, there were some classes where it was me and 2 other people for an hour straight. And it was this is great because I don't mind opening up in front of 2 other people. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to do.
Mm.
But how uncomfortable were you to go at the beginning?
No, very. I hated it. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. I do not do well with, I'm not a people person. And you show up to a place where I have no idea who anyone is. I get there and first thing I do is just go to sleep because I didn't want to talk to anybody. And then I wake up and I was like, you're still here. You're going to be here for 29 more days. So you better get out of your comfort zone and start talking to some people.
So how was that experience? Oh, sorry, Jeremy. Yes.
No, go ahead.
How was that experience, with getting uncomfortable and being around brand new people? How has that helped you in your recovery with opening up to people back home and people around here over the next year?
That's a good question, just because that's something 2 of my sisters had texted me last night, and they were like, I would have thrown up having to publicly speak in front of people. And it's so much easier to talk to people who are in recovery because they are the least judgmental people that you will ever know. And so it makes it so much easier to get uncomfortable and talk about things that you don't really want to talk about, but you need to. And doing that with men was the biggest challenge for me, I think. I mean, I grew up with 3 older sisters and a mom, and my dad was gone. And so I think I just always have related better with women and being able to talk to women as compared to men and opening up. And that allowed me to, some guy says it in one of my groups, is you get emotionally naked in front of another man. And that's a tough thing to first do. It's not a great image to put in your head, but
right,
it works. Once you do it once, it becomes a lot easier to do.
I think you going out of state, though, helped you and your parents both. That's what was neat about it. Like, your parents checked out. They said, look, we're not going to work his recovery anymore. Your recovery is now on you. And they've done a great job since of leaving Brent's recovery to Brent. And then Brent worked his own recovery. And I think getting out of state was good, but it didn't stop there. You stayed out of state.
I was going to say, hey, where'd you go from Tucson?
Nashville. I went to Nashville and
There's no drinking in Nashville.
Oh my gosh.
Went to Nashville, which was an outpatient, and it was similar to Cottonwood, where they focused on more mental health, I would say, mental health comes with addiction, but it was more, I mean, there was maybe out of the 20 people doing outpatient, maybe 3-4 other people who were struggling with addiction. All the other people were strictly mental health. And so that's all we talked about. And that's all we worked on was the mental health part of it. And I did not foresee myself going there. I thought, all right, I'm going to do my 30 days and go back home. But I think it was around 3 weeks in, I'm meeting with the aftercare person, and she's like, all right, where do you live? And you're going to do an aftercare program. And I knew I was going to do that. And I was like, all right, I got to go back home to St. Louis. She's like, well, why do you have to go back home? I was like, I don't know. I think I just have to go back home. Like, I'm done here. So I think that's what most people do is go back home.
Yeah, right.
And she's like, well, no, a lot of people actually don't. And they go somewhere else for whether it be 30 days at outpatient or they go and do sober living somewhere else. And she's like, so where do you want to go? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, well, you like beaches? Do you like the mountains? Because they're sending people to California, to Colorado. I was like, I want to go with people who are my age and like in their 20s and 30s. And I want to be somewhat close to home. And she said Nashville. And I think I really surprised my parents whenever I told them that I was going somewhere else. But at that time, I thought I had probably 60 days off of work. And so I kind of told myself, I was like, this is the only time I'm going to be able to do this. And I want to get it right. And what am I going to do if I go back home and I still have 30 days left until I go to work? I'll probably, no matter how strong I feel about not drinking right now, I'll probably drink if I go back home and do outpatient at the aviary where I know everybody and I know I can get away with certain things. So that was the biggest, I think, surprise about my early recovery was going from Arizona to Nashville and then Nashville for 30 days to Herman, Missouri. And just like you said about Nashville, it's not like people drink in Herman, Missouri. It's full of wineries.
Wine capital of the Midwest.
Well, no, actually, that's the first viticulture, like, designated area in the United States before California.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Herman, Missouri.
It's like the Napa Valley of the Midwest.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's where it all started. I know because I have a place in Herman and I wanted to turn it into a winery, so I did my research.
He did a lot of research.
I had to try everything too. Yes.
Let's just say we're qualified.
So I know your parents weren't really too thrilled about that decision then, that next one, like going to Herman.
No, they didn't know what, because it was Learn to Live and it wasn't a program. It's not like they know a lot of programs, but it wasn't really a program that they were familiar with where it's like, hey, this X amount of people live here. And so like, this is a trusted program where you can see results and here's our nice website that we got. I mean, they have a nice website, but it was from Shane, had I think gone out there one time. And I think you had told me about it actually months and months ago. Christina had suggested it maybe going there. And I was like, yeah, right. I am not doing that. And even this time when you guys told me that, and you're like, you got to stay for 90 days too. And I was like, okay.
Well, look, I just wanted a commitment out of 30. I'm talking to Matt on the phone, and I'm like, look, we just get them there. We'll keep them. Just get them there. That's all I care about at first. Let's just get them in the door. I don't care if we tell them 30 days, 60 days, or what. But finally, I said, Brent, look, just commit to 90. That's what we have to do at the minimum. Just commit to 90.
Yeah, I remember that too, because I was walking in downtown Nashville because, I mean, I had a lot of off, like a couple hours here and there whenever I was in programming down there. And so I would just walk around the downtown. It's a really walkable city. And I was on the phone with you and I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I was like 90 days. And I was like, but there's no way that's going to happen because I know I can't be forced to be there, so I can leave whenever I'm ready. And it's going to be before those 90 days. And I even tried, I was like, all right, I think I was leaving on a Friday. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna spend the weekend. Here's my plan, Christina. My parents are picking me up from the airport, and I'm gonna spend the weekend at their house, and then I'll go there on Monday. And she's like, no, you're not. You're going straight there. And I was like, well, why? I mean, my parents will be around. I'm not gonna drink. I don't want to drink. And later she told me, she's like, because you won't want to leave. It's already getting tough for you to make the decision to go there in the first place. You're definitely not going to want to go there if you go home and get a taste of being comfortable again.
Yep. Door to door. That's the way everything happens. Door to door.
So you committed to 90 days, and how long did you stay?
Got there in May, and I think my graduation was middle of January. So
A little bit beyond the
A little over 90 days.
Yeah. And actually it was so it's 90 days, and that's what you're committed to. And I think around like 60 days came up, and I just didn't say anything about extending. And it was probably like 80 days, I remember, and I was having a conversation with Matt, having a one-on-one. I was like, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up. You probably know, but I was like, I'm probably going to extend for another month or 2 months. He's like, all right, yeah, that sounds good. And then we just never had the conversation again for a really long time about when I was going to leave. I think it wasn't until around the holidays. I wanted to leave around November-ish. And he was like, I think that you should stay through the holidays. They're a tricky situation. And I was like, all right. And I think Shane had also told me that. And I even had texted you around that time. And you're like, holidays are tricky. I was like, oh. And my first reaction was, all right, well, they're not going to be tricky for me. And I was like,
You're different.
Yeah, I'm different.
And then I was like, all right, I've heard this from a lot of people, so it's probably true.
And Christina wasn't letting you leave without a plan.
What made you want to stay?
Everything was just working out so perfectly there. I just had such a nice setup, and I was so worried. I think my biggest concern going there was my work situation and having to get from Herman all the way to St. Louis. And we worked something out just perfectly, and it just all aligned. And right then I was like, wow, that was my first time I really realized that I made a really good decision by coming there. I was like, I don't know how that just worked out or why it worked out, but it did. And now I'm just going to trust whatever's going on here. And I just really enjoyed it there. I really, really liked the guys. I didn't think I would, having to live with 10 guys. I was like, I'm so beyond that. I don't need to be doing that. And I made a lot of really good friends there, and it was always nice to come home and have people around. I could get away. I could go to my room, go to sleep, get some quiet time outside, but people were always around, and I didn't think I would like that because I don't like people, but I liked having them around. It didn't mean that we were having to do something all the time, but hey, let's go sit in the basement and watch a movie tonight. All right, yeah, that sounds cool with me. Let's just hang out. Just guys being dudes.
Guys being dudes.
He needed some guys being dudes.
You need some dudes in your life, man.
Being the only boy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's a good point.
So he needed, he had a lot of time to make up.
I've never experienced this before.
This is really awesome.
There was a lot of growth that we got to see sitting back and watching Brent grow out there. And even today, he's still, hey, I'm going out with the guys from there. Or they were always doing something, always having an outing of some sort, always going to meetings together. Instant gratification is something that we love, and it's something that you have. Now you notice it yourself and you put things in place. But he took his time getting his car back. He took his time doing all kinds of things, right? He's like, well, I can't have my car fully now because then I'll go and do this. So he says maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and then you had to make it a guaranteed date. You didn't get to do 3 or 4. You had to pick.
Yeah.
And everything, there was no instant. It was, I'm going to work towards. Is one of the neatest things that we've seen as far as growth. Like it quit being a short period of time, and he had to pick a date longer out. in order to do things, whether it was drive more days to work or even coming home. There was a whole plan set up.
Yeah, I mean that's been a big thing is setting those goals, and then I mean Christina is just a master at doing it, and we'll spend a whole hour on our sessions just planning out something really specifically, and then I leave that session I'm like, wow, I feel a lot more confident in my ability to do this now that I have this plan in place. And I actually started planning, because I used to be someone who would just do something last second or just decide I'm going to do this because I can. And I still know I can do those things, but I'm choosing not to and just going to wait and be patient.
Proactive versus reactive.
Yeah.
But what do you think that's done for your recovery? Does it help your recovery? Does it help you? I mean, really, what's the big deal? Why have a plan, not just do it?
I think the biggest thing is because for me, if I don't have a plan and I start just winging it and just doing the things because I want to do them, I'll start doing things just because I can do them. Just because I can say I can do this and I'm going to do it. And it also just gives me something to work towards. Because I was just talking the other day, because I hit that 12 months, and this entire time I've been told 13 months is the hurdle. 13 months. And that doesn't mean I didn't really celebrate 12 months or feel proud about it. But I had that weird feeling on my 1 year of, I don't know if you guys experience this either, but it's just like, well, I did what I set out to do. I made it a year, because that's what everybody talks about is, wow, that's really impressive. You made it a year. And I was like, wow, I did it. And I could easily see how someone could just go and say, all right, I did it. I can drink now. Let's celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
And then having that 13 months, knowing, all right, now that's my next goal. And I have all these other goals for 15 months, 17 months, 19 months, and all these things that I want to do, but I can't do them until I hit that goal of 15 months, 17 months. So I think always have something to work towards is my biggest thing of keeping that instant gratification out of my head.
What is recovery like for you now? Because now you're home. What's it look like?
I would say it doesn't look much different than it did last month, 2 months before, 3 months. It's just because I had that weird feeling of, all right, I'm 12 months, I should do something different. And then I talked about it with someone, and they're like, well, why would you change anything? What you're doing right now is working, so continue to do that. And it's not eating up any of the time in my life that I don't want. It's not like I don't want to be going to the meetings that I'm going to. It's not like I don't want to be working the steps or working with a sponsor. Those are all things I've actually learned to enjoy and actually cherish doing. And I would say now I've kind of made a switch. So for me, my recovery has always been 3 things that I work on, and that's sobriety, so just not drinking, my mental health, which is a big one, and my relationship with God. And this whole first year, I worked really, really hard on the mental health and the sobriety part, and now I'm kind of realizing it's time to start working on the relationship with God part. Because I have those other ones where I want them, and they can always get better, but it's time to start working on that God part, because that is the essence of the program. This guy always, at one of my meetings, screams about the fact that this is a spiritual program. It's an AA meeting, and so not everybody wants to hear that, but he says that, I'm like, damn, he's right. It is a spiritual program. And working on that, and working on the relationship with God is my big goal right now, I would say. That's mainly what my recovery looks like, is working on that spirituality.
How's that coming along?
It's difficult to say because with those other two things, I can measure them. I can measure how many days of sobriety I have, and I can check in on my depression and anxiety fairly well and say, like, all right, I haven't had a panic attack in a long time, or I haven't had those days where I can't do nothing in a very long time. But it's harder to gauge that relationship with God and where you're at there. I know it's getting better because praying comes easier for me. It's not forced anymore, or I don't sit there and be like, oh, what do I want to pray about? Okay, I'll pray about this. And it's more of just conversation, more of a father-son type relationship.
I think it's still measurable. I think you can measure it the same way. Maybe we should sit down and map that out.
You'd be the one.
Make a plan.
Probably. What? Who said what?
He said, make a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like plans. I like it when a plan comes together. I think somebody said that earlier.
Yeah.
I said it wrong, but yes.
I love it when a plan comes together.
I have a question for you guys. This is a question that's been eating me
That's
up.
not how this works.
Yeah.
Turning the tables
You're
on
the
you.
interviewee, man. Come on. Come on.
This question's really been eating at me since this weekend. In church, we were talking about being patient and longing for things. And he posed the question, what do you long for in your life? And kind of went about saying if you're saying that you don't long for something, then you're lying to yourself. So do you think it is possible to be in a place in life where you're not longing for anything?
Yes. I don't agree with that necessarily. And I'm just thinking real quick on this one, right? I think being content and being at peace with God, with who I am and who He's created me to be. The only thing I would say I would long for is a closer relationship with God, because I know that if I have that, I don't need anything else, right? But as far as the other things, my retirement plan isn't here on this earth, and so if I have Jesus and I have God, and I can honestly say I have Him at the center of everything that I do, I don't need anything else.
But you're still longing for Him.
Right.
You're still longing for that relationship to grow and to deepen.
I know, but that's what I said. When I answered, if I think of the question real quick, it's like, yeah, contentment is where, isn't that the ultimate goal?
To be joyful in all things. So joyful in my contentment, right? That's what we want to get to. But I'm trying to think, I don't know if we didn't long for something. And hopefully it's always longing for that relationship to be deeper with Christ. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we'd be lying to ourselves or if we'd just be dead on the inside. Because I could tell you, I think back to the end of my addiction, I don't think I was longing for anything except for death.
Death.
Mm.
And so being dead on the inside like that, it's the kind of death I never wish anybody. That spiritual death is.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I don't know. That's
a really good question. That's why you're not supposed to ask the questions.
yeah.
Sorry.
I think that if you are living life wholeheartedly, you're always longing for something. Okay, I don't think that, like, I can always improve. I'm never perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm always growing. So I'm always going to long for the more knowledge or more wisdom or more more of a healthy relationship with Jesus Christ. So I don't know if there ever is going to be a time in my life that I won't be longing, but I don't know if I ever want a time in my life where I'm not longing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to continue to build and grow, and obviously I want to be content. And I guess my need, I would long to understand my needs. What is content to me? So I don't think it's possible. I really don't. For me, at least.
That was a good question, though.
That was a really good question. Stop.
Hammer time.
No more questions.
So for you, what do you say to that person that's still out there running and gunning?
Just that that it really I mean, it just sounds so dumb. And I hated hearing it, but it really works. It does. It's just, there's no denying that it does work if you really want it. And it's so much better than you could ever imagine, than I ever imagined. I mean, I knew my life would get better whenever I got into recovery, but I didn't. It's not like I really had some checklist that I was looking for and I was saying, okay, I know recovery can give me these things. It's just a lot of unexpected things that I didn't realize I was lacking. I started to see come true in my life. And I would say just giving it that chance of, I know it's unexpected and you can't say my life will get better here, 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 and here, and that's guaranteed, but it will get better. And that's a guarantee. It's nobody was worse off for getting into recovery.
No.
Well said.
I just want to say, I think it's awesome how you did 30 days and be like, all right, I'm good. And then he does another 30 days and it's like, oh, okay, I'll commit to 90 days. And then 10 months later, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly, you know, you took all the suggestions. You were finally open to all the suggestions that were being given to you, you know. And to me, that's exactly, you know, when I think of recovery, especially early recovery, that's what I think of, right? Is somebody who's like, look, I can't do this anymore. Sure, I can always go back to my old way of living. It's always out there, you know. Mm-hmm. And I tell guys in my sober living all the time, and you are the perfect example of this. Money returns, time does not. You can always go out and make money. Mm-hmm. You can always get back to work. You could always find a place to live. But you're never going to get that time back, you know? Mm-mm. And if you actually, and I like what Shane said too about, you said, I can't measure my spirituality. And I think if you actually took a step back and looked at the last year of your life and look at how it would have been different had alcohol been involved in it. And then you could see those little places where God was, right? Mm-hmm. God was in Tucson, right? Saying, hey, man, maybe you should, the nudge through everybody else. Hey, go here. Mm-hmm. Then that counselor saying, maybe you should go stay someplace else. And that's all kind of like God's guidance throughout the way. And then you wanting and yearning, longing for mm-hmm. that relationship with him. I think that's a pretty measurable thing. So I'm really glad that I got to be here for this one.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
What's a week look like for Brent before we close? Because I want people to hear you're a year in. What does a week in Brent's life look like?
Like everything in a day?
For your recovery, what does...
For recovery, yeah. Go to a Monday, go to a men's meeting. That was the best decision I've ever made when it comes to meetings, is finding a good men's meeting. Obviously, they're not as good to look at, but that's where I've learned to become a man in recovery and also get over that fear of opening up in front of a whole bunch of guys. I mean, guys, if I've ever been to a mixed meeting compared to a men's meeting, I mean, their shares are totally different because you can say whatever you want in a men's meeting and not have to worry about anything. So going to a men's meeting, sometimes fellowshipping before. Tuesday, celebrate recovery. Before that, I was doing a 12-week step study. Wednesday, young people's meeting, trying to get in with people who are my age so I can make those friendships in recovery. Being at a sober living house really helped that. Then play some pickleball, usually on Wednesday night. Sometimes talk recovery during that. Thursday, day to myself, day to relax, get things done that I need to get done, and just take it easy. Friday, celebrate recovery or an AA meeting, usually more celebrate recovery, I would say. Saturday, church. Sunday, church. Sunday night, therapist. I really don't mind going to 2 church services because, I mean, I'm already going to these meetings. It's just like a meeting to me when it comes down to it.
So remember, spirit, he can't measure it.
But he's going to church.
He's going to 2 church services and 2
Sounds like
celebrate
recoveries and all men meetings.
Sort of
very
quantifying what
yeah.
you are doing. So let's just call it what it is.
He just finally answered his question.
It's pretty measurable.
It's a whole lot.
Here's what's measurable to me. I can see it in you. I can see it with the way you love people, with the way you talk, with the way you act. So it's easy for us on the outside to sit around and say, we can see it in you.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think that's the ultimate goal is I want to make people believe in Jesus Christ, not by saying things, but by seeing what I do and seeing Jesus Christ living through me. Not by me telling them, hey, you want to read the Bible with me? Hey, you want to go to church service with me? But they see what I do.
You may be the only Bible people read. It's true.
It's very true.
The way we live is the only Bible some people will ever see or read. And so what we do matters.
It does.
And the way you live it out, it shows. Mm-hmm. Mike, you got anything for him?
No, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I really do. Last night was amazing. Upbringing and whatnot, and sports and baseball. It really rang a bell in my ear, and I actually had to sit forward over my feet because I started to cry and I didn't want anybody to see me cry. So it was amazing, and your journey, and speaking with Christina and Shane over the last year, I've always tried to keep up to date on it, and you're doing the work, man, and it's paying off, and all you can do is continue to do the things that you're doing and continue to reap the rewards. So kudos to you. Absolutely.
You have a story to tell.
Everybody does.
That's right. I'm so glad you brought that up last night, man. You have a story to tell, and it's going to reach a lot of people. So thank you for sharing it. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of the journey. It's been amazing watching you. This is one of the fun times, man, when we get to sit back and we get to watch the fruits of the labor. You get to see people grow and learn and be better than what we ever could. That's the goal. You got anything else for him? You want to close in the scripture?
Yeah, I got two of them. Proverbs 13:20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. And Proverbs 27:17 is iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend.
Amen.
Amen.
Brent, we love you. Thank you for coming. Maybe we'll do a 2-year.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And then a 3-year.
And then 3 year. Just keep coming back. It'd be fun.
Just keep coming.
I'm kind of partial to them. Plus, we're going to go play pickleball.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
What can I say?
But
Yeah.
we want to thank you, Tactile Turn, for being our sponsor. Really appreciate everything. Go give them a check on tactileturn.com. We want to make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We
Yeah,
are on
please do.
all podcast platforms. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want.
Yeah. Say hi to Brent.
Say hi to Brent. Brent, thank you very much again. For everybody here at Awake and Sober, we'll see you next week.
God bless.
Thanks, guys.